Many thought Bryce Young should have been Alabama's starting quarterback in 2020. Instead, Mac Jones won the job and never conceded as he put up insane numbers and led the Tide to the national championship. Now, it looks like Young will take over the starting job as Jones looks to be a first-round pick in this year's NFL draft. But who is Bryce Young? In the Who Is series, we go through the backstories of up-and-coming collegiate and pro athletes. If you enjoy these videos, leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Bryce Young grew up in Pasadena, California, where the Rose Bowl Stadium is located. When he was young, Craig Young knew Bryce was going to be a great player. Yes, I get it. Every parent thinks their child is going to be amazing at what they do. But Craig Young knew that Bryce Young was going to be a great football player. Bryce threw the ball and ran so naturally that it seemed like he was bound to do great things in football. A lot of the times on this channel, we go through the backstories of players who are usually a little shorter and get overlooked. Although Young was usually smaller than the other quarterbacks he competed against, his ability forced people to overlook his height and weight. Young's father was always asked questions if Young was willing to change positions growing up, even though he was usually the more talented player. Bryce Young started his high school football career at Cathedral High School in Los Angeles, California. While at Cathedral, Young threw for 1,445 yards, 14 touchdowns and 6 interceptions during his freshman year, and 3,431 yards, 41 touchdowns and 3 interceptions his sophomore year. Then Young decided to transfer to Mater Dei. Mater Dei is the only high school to have produced 2 Heisman Trophy winners in John Huart and Matt Leinart. Other former alumni include Todd Marinovich, Matt Barkley, and JT Daniels. Before Young transferred to Mater Dei, JT Daniels had just left early, so Young saw an opportunity to improve his resume for recruiting. When Young arrived to Mater Dei, Bruce Rawlinson, the Monarchs head coach, said, early on in his career, the staff met and just said, look, nobody coaches him. Whatever he does is right. Don't tell him to step up in the pocket, slide right, slide left, because whenever he gets out of the pocket, magic happens. You never want to take creative ability away from a special player, and he had that ability. As a junior, Young led Mater Dei to a state championship where he threw for 3,846 yards, 39 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Mater Dei also finished as the top-ranked team in USA Today's Super 25, giving them a second consecutive mythical national championship. Young's head coach said, by his senior year, we were just pointing at him, giving him a formation, and pointing. Then he'd call the play he wanted from there. That puts you in a category of only a select few quarterbacks that we felt comfortable doing that with. Young's quarterback coach Taylor Kelly said, we gave the kid the keys to a Ferrari, and he easily took it to 5th and 6th gear. The things that you kind of see from Bryce are special, and there was never moments too big for him. You just let him do his thing. In the 2019 football season, Young threw for 4,528 yards, 58 touchdowns, and 6 interceptions. Mater Dei lost to St. John Bosco in the sectional championship, which Young was devastated about because from my research, Young never focused about his individual accolades, it was always the team's success. Young said in an interview, however I'm perceived individually doesn't mean that much to me. To me, it's about how Mater Dei is perceived and that we could win games. Program success is what's important. High school teammates described him as a quiet person who was super caring and genuine. Young finished his high school career passing for 13,250 yards, 178 touchdowns, and 21 interceptions, while completing nearly 70% of his passes. He also beat some of the best high school teams in the nation, including but not limited to St. John Bosco in California, St. Francis in Maryland, and IMG Academy in Florida. According to 24/7 Sports Composite, Bryce Young was a 5-star recruit who was the #1 dual threat and player in California and #2 player nationally, only behind Clemson commit Brian Breezy. Greg Biggins, a national recruiting analyst, compared Young to Russell Wilson in high school. Young's first Division I offer came when Cliff Kingsbury offered Young as an 8th grader after a Texas Tech camp. At the time, Kingsbury was still developing Patrick Mahomes and was looking to the future with the Young offer. At the time, Young was 5'7" and weighed 150 pounds. Young and his father celebrated the offer with a tomahawk steak and expected more offers to come in, but Young needed to wait a few years. Coaches told Young and his father that he was amazing and that they loved him, but wanted to wait for him to grow before they would offer him. They were stuck under the mindset that quarterbacks needed to be a certain height and weight to be good. Guys like Drew Brees, Russell Wilson, Baker Mayfield, and Kyler Murray helped break that stigma over the years. Wiltfong said, "If Baker Mayfield and Kyler Murray don't go number 1 in the draft, I don't think you see Bryce Young at the top of our recruiting rankings. There's now a path for them." Originally, Young committed to USC in July of 2018. He had grown up watching USC play, and he loved the idea of playing at a school that was only 20 minutes from his home. He had also really liked the idea of playing at UCLA, along with Oklahoma and Washington, but was not really considering Alabama. Bama had offered him after his sophomore year, but he really was not interested in playing in the Tide's offense until Tua came in at half during the national championship game in 2018. Young's father said, "If there's no Tua, then maybe we don't consider Alabama. When Tua came in, we saw how the offense could look. If Tua doesn't do what he does, maybe Alabama isn't as attractive." Then, when Alabama hired Steve Sarkisian, Young really started to consider Alabama. Young's father described Sark as a catalyst for Bama. Sark had met Young when he was in 6th grade, and although it was a long shot at the time, Sark started recruiting the California product hard. Young took an official visit to Tuscaloosa in September, and a few days later he decommitted from USC and committed to Alabama. When Young got to Tuscaloosa, he measured just under 6 feet tall and 175 pounds, but that was not what people were talking about. They were talking about when, not if, he was going to be invited to New York for the Heisman ceremony. Steve Wiltfong, the director of recruiting for 24/7 Sports, said, "I would think that he's got a shot to win the Heisman Trophy. He's going to have so many great players around him at Alabama, and if he's the player that we think he's going to be, I think you're talking about a guy who's going to be invited to New York maybe more than once." Young decided to enroll early at Alabama to have a shot to beat Mac Jones out for the starting quarterback job for this past season. Unfortunately for Young, spring practice was canceled due to the events going on in the world, and Young was unable to put himself in position to battle for the starting spot. Young returned home in the spring to study his playbook and had packed on 25 pounds of muscle in 2 months being a part of Alabama's strength and conditioning program. Young was a mystery to fans and the media since Alabama does not allow freshmen to talk to the media, which added excitement and intrigue to what the 5-star quarterback could do. According to Bleacher Report back in the spring, from what Alabama teammates and coaches saw, they knew Young was going to be special. Mac Jones ultimately won the starting quarterback job this season and went on to finish 3rd in the Heisman voting. Bryce Young appeared in 7 games where he completed 13 of his 22 passes for 156 yards and 1 touchdown. He also took the final knee to cap off Alabama's national championship season. Young looks to be Alabama's starting quarterback for the 2021 season, and although he won't have Jalen Waddle or Devontae Smith, he will have top talent around him because, well, it's Alabama, and Alabama is always reloading. Do not be surprised if Bryce Young is in New York next season and competing for a national title. If you enjoyed this video, check out my other videos in the Who Is series. Don't forget to leave a like, share, and subscribe to the channel, and as always, remember to embrace the grind.